Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. I hit record so that we don't miss anything.
I think we should just get this.
That's where it's going to drop in, is like right here. This is where
perfect.
The podcast starts.
And let's do that. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm obviously Kisma. And whoa, we have such a cool and special guest on that I think we're going to limit the pre-show banter, except to say, Merry Christmas, Nick.
Merry Christmas.
What'd you buy me?
I can't tell you that yet.
I know. Obviously, guys are recording this before Christmas. And we had a little bit of an interesting setup, which just shows the awesome energy that's going to be on this show. And
I love your positive outlook on that.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So, I'm just, you know what? I'm going to dive right in and introduce. I'm so excited. All of our listeners, that usually the show is Nick and myself, and we talk and we bring in, ancient wisdom for modern day success. And then we'll have a special guest like once a month. And this person, I'm not sure why I waited so long to ask her, because the first moment I saw her speak, I was like, we got to get her on the show. I think I was a little bit starstruck. But Susie Moore, who is basically an amazing and highly successful entrepreneur after having worked in corporate. And I'm going to have her tell us a bit about that. She is an author of a new book that you're going to hear about. She also consults startup companies in Silicon Valley and New York City to great success. She's on the Today Show. You can see her publications and her blogs on Huffington Post, Marie Claire. She lives in New York City, a world traveler. And you know what? I'm just going to bring her on so we can dive in. So hello and welcome, Susie.
Hi, Kisma. Hi, Nick. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
And you're so great, because I know it's right before Christmas and you're going to be flying to the UK, I think you said, to visit some family. So we're kind of excited that we were able to bring you on and that you fit this in. So thanks for being here.
Yes, it's a magical time of year, right? It's a wonderful time to connect.
It is.
I'm very happy to be chatting with you now.
Aw, thanks so much. And, one of the things we'll be talking about throughout the podcast is your new book, What If It Does Work Out? And I was like, this is such a perfect title for you, because I know when I first heard you speak at Chris Winfield's event, I was like, she's so positive. Like, she's got it going on. And it's such an authentic positivity. It's not like the cheerleader kind of force it. Like, you are truly have this magical charm and positivity. And it so resonates with the title of your book. So I just want to have you start talking about this book and where it really came from inside your soul and how long it took you to write it, and all of the juicy details behind it.
I think the reason I wanted to write this book was because, like you said, Kisma, I have a corporate background. In many ways, I still consider myself a corporate person, because, you can take yourself out of the cubicle. So there's still a lot of things that, stay with you once you've worked in an office environment for so long.
Yeah.
And as I was, working in I was always working in a sales capacity. And my most recent role was working at a Fortune 500 company as sales director. And I always liked my job. It was fine. I certainly could have stayed. Like, the money was good, the perks were good. I was certainly appreciative for what I was given. But one thing I always like to do is consider, like the 90-year-old version of myself, if I'm lucky enough to live that long. And I ask her, I ask old Susie, like, would you be happy if this is how you were living? Like, will I be high-fiving myself for this day, this decision, what it is I'm doing now? And over the years, I started to just not feel that way. I felt like I was kind of just really conforming and sticking around because something was easy. And just because something's easy doesn't mean that it's right. And I didn't want my work in a corporate environment in a tech, selling technology software to be my life's work. I know it wasn't my life's work. And so I started sad hustling, right?
Yes.
As many people do now. It's almost 1 in 3 Americans now making money independently of a paycheck. I started working as a life coach, and to attract clients, I started writing. And increasingly, the people who came to me were people who also wanted out of their job. They wanted to do something else too. So my book is basically a response to all the questions I've been asked. Like
awesome.
over the years, my clients, people who'd always reach out and write to me, instead of always sharing my story again and again, I thought I can just put it in a book, make it accessible, affordable, and just, and share what I know.
Yeah.
And one thing that I guess, because I'm such a self-help junkie and I love personal development books, was a lot of books say follow your bliss, or leap in the next year, and I was like, but how?
Right.
I wanted something very practical. I'm a Capricorn. We're very practical, so I wanted to create concrete steps for a reader, for somebody looking for help, versus rhetoric. I wanted to make it really real.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely succeeded. I mean, as I was looking through and reading through the book, it really does give you all those step-by-steps. And I totally picked up on your self-help junkie. I was like, oh, look at all these great quotes, And I knew right away. I was like, yep, she's one of us.
I know. Oh my gosh. When people say, what's a good book? What's a good quote? I'm like, oh man, how long have you got?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think it's the greatest pleasure in life to read. I mean, in a way, I always feel like reading is cheating because I get to experience so many other people's life experiences, on my sofa, and not have to go through everything myself. I get lessons. I get the lessons, the experience, the learning, like the moral. I get the truth, wherever I am. I feel like someone actually said, I think it's Jack Canfield, who always said, leaders are readers. And I think that that's true because there's so much available to us.
Yeah. There's a quote that we come back to time and again, and it says, the wise man learns from the mistakes of others and the fool learns from his own.
Yes.
And I've definitely been on both sides of that. I prefer the wise approach.
Exactly. And this is also the beauty too of living in a world where everything really is accessible. We can learn from other people all the time.
All the time.
And also, in the online world, if people create programs, and I love programs and courses, but for me, creating a book was important because I learned everything from books. And even when I think about people my mom's age, she's 75, she won't take a program, or a course, but she'll read a book. And so I just feel like it's a great equalizer.
Exactly.
Too.
And especially for you, because you're such a great writer, and books are I never want books to go away. I mean, I raised my daughter on books, we lived in Hong Kong from the time she was 4 till 11, and she just read all the time. And she still reads, it's so important. And I love the feel of a book. I know Nick and I kind of talk about Kindles, and we have some of that, but there's something about opening a book, the smell of it, the words coming alive on paper. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it's orgasmic. I love it. I love it when I have a book. I'm like, sorry, gotta go. It's something sorry, can't, working out. Sorry, can't. I'm like, sorry, gotta go. I'm like, yeah, I've got plans tonight. I won't say it's with my book. But it is. That's how exciting it gets over here. Crazy living.
Well, I wanted to ask you, because you did a fantastic job of laying it out in a step-by-step way. And then kind of the opposite side of that, I noticed this quote earlier in the book where you said you don't need to know everything right now. You just need to know enough to get started. And it's kind of man, to me, that's such a big let go of not needing to have all that information. And I'm curious if you could talk about that. Do you find that to be a major sticking point for people where they need to know it all before they do what they're going to do? Is that something that you find a lot?
It's such a good question because the truth is no one ever knows anything, really, do we? I mean, do we ever know anything? I mean, even if you ever speak to the most honest people, even the most successful people, they say, if you, one of my favorite people who I've ever interviewed is Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx.
Love her.
And she said she had no clue what she was doing. She still doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right. She says, but she has a lot of heart and she knows what women need and she'll just keep taking the next step. Right. So, no one else, I think if there's anything I would want to tell everyone in the world who wants to create a side hustle or do anything, it's no one else knows what they're doing either.
It's out of the box, everyone. No one knows. And that keeps the spirit of curiosity alive, right? If we think we know everything, what's the point of learning something new or trying something new or becoming better at it? It just keeps one in inquiry.
Exactly. And it keeps us young and it keeps us humble. It's like, who wants the pressure of being perfect or an expert or a guru or whatever? I mean, like who wants that? I mean, well, no one ever really is. Who defines that? Who says that? Who decides that?
Right.
It's just up to us to make our contribution and to lose.
Yeah. And you talked about that in the book where you said you don't need to be the guru. You just need to be part of the conversation. And I was like, oh, that is so great.
Yeah, and for the perfectionists out there, and there are lots of you, lots of us. It's like, well, you know what, your goal, you're never going to attain it, right? Nothing is ever perfect. We're constantly expanding and growing and improving. So if you just kind of like lose that mindset, actually, my word for the new year is experiment. Like I love this word experiment. It came from actually the mastermind I'm in. And I just feel like it's so great because it's like some time to play, like time to learn, time to test without having this outcome that's very, very strict and having to follow a specific process. Like, can we just experiment and play and enjoy our lives a little bit? I mean, that's ironically where the success happens.
There's really an interesting component of that because I think there's an old model of doing things that's like, I'm the expert, you learn from me kind of thing. And when you make it a part of a conversation energetically, you open up so many other possibilities and you open up a free exchange, which I think is way more in line with our current economy and the way that people engage with their world and with other people and to really see themselves through, you know, to their next step, like whatever that is. It's that conversational aspect is so key. So I just love that you said that. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's so funny because sometimes we just live in this prison. The biggest prison we can live in is like what other people think of us, right? And it's self-imposed. And we're like, oh, I need to know exactly what to do so I don't mess up and people think I'm a fool, blah, 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 blah. It's like, really, there is no real right or wrong way to do anything. People succeed in many different ways, doing many different things, using their own styles. And by the way, I don't like to always quote Steve Jobs because he's so quoted, like everyone's always quoting him. But the one thing that I love most that he said was that everything created in this world was created by people who were not smarter than you. Right? Like everything that exists, right? Yes. I mean, and he was like, you know, he didn't graduate, like college dropout, total rebel, did his own thing. I mean, he was like, everything that we see in the world around us was created by people, and those people are not smarter than you.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Super humbling.
It is, right? And it's kind of like, you know, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to experiment, you know, and that can be enough. Like that could be enough.
One part in the book, you talked about fear really authentically. And I think this is so important for someone who is looking to either start a side hustle or they have a side hustle or they're like full on in hustle, like, and you know, they're not in a corporate world. They have their own business. I know with some of our clients that come to us that people talk about fear of, is it going to succeed? Is it going to fail? And you, rather than say, don't have fear, it's not real, you address it pretty much head on. So I'd love to hear in your words for our listeners how you've managed fear and how you help your clients to do so.
Yeah. So fear, I feel all the time, right? Constantly. I'm always afraid. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to mess up? Right. I always think too. And by the way, I know this, everyone feels like a fraud. If someone doesn't feel like a little bit of a fraud, they probably like don't have a pulse anymore. Like we all feel fraudulent. We're all afraid. And sometimes if I don't feel like I'm afraid, I'm not thinking big enough or I'm not doing enough, right? If I'm in a safe place. But the thing is, fear never goes away, especially for ambitious people, because we push ourselves so much. Right. Our dream, as soon as you attain a goal, you're happy for about like 3 hours and then you're ready for the next goal. Right. This is so like that's the purpose of our experience here on earth. We're here to be, you know, constantly expanding. So you can acknowledge your fear, consider it like a friend. Like I love what Liz Gilbert says. She's like, it can be a passenger seat in the car, but it's not driving the car. Yeah. Right. You can put it there with you, be like, hey, I got you. It's cool. I know you're going to be riding with me forever, right? Like, you're not going to make the decisions. I'm in control. So fear, once you accept it, because, hey, it'll never go away if you're living a life that's really true to who you are and what you want. Fear is very natural. We can accept it. We can, you know, embrace it and love it in a way, but know that it's not going to be the driving force in your life.
Yeah, that's really great. You know, back in my musician days, I remember one of my teachers would say, you know, if you have fear or nervousness, do whatever you can to change it into excitement.
Yeah.
So like, before you go on stage, don't be excited. There's going to be that rush. There's going to be the adrenaline. But let it be about, like you said, always experimenting the potential of something. And I so agree. If we're just like coasting and we're feeling pretty like whatever, we're not thinking or living big enough.
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely true. And somebody once said too that, fear is just excitement without the breathing, right? Without because when we're afraid, we like shut down, we don't breathe, we kind of freak out.
Right.
You just breathe through it. Like, and think about some of the best experiences you've had, like the nerves that you've had, the fear that you've had. It can really push you to be your best, So we can, if we can just look at it in a different way and just accept it and expect it too, right? Because courage really isn't the absence of being afraid. It's like feeling afraid and moving forward anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
And realizing too that what it is you want to do or achieve is more important than that fear.
Yes. I love that. Speaking of breathing, I know that I don't remember if you talked about this at the event I heard you speak or I saw it elsewhere, but you talked about setting up your day of always putting something in your brain as you're getting ready in the morning, like something in your brain, your mind that is substantial. I know we spend time in the morning doing a specific routine, but can you talk about that? Like, who is it you want to listen to? Do you meditate? Do you move? What's your morning routine like?
Yes. Oh, what a good question. So because I'm so obsessed with self-help, and I'm not ashamed about this, right? Like I'm very, very open about it. I don't know how anyone gets through life without a self-help book constantly like in their bag or on their bedside table, or, some inspirational podcasts or some great YouTube videos kind of in the background. Yeah. I'm always consuming stuff. And I love Abraham Hicks. I mean, I love Wayne Dyer. I like read, reread, listen, re-listen. And I think it was Zig Ziglar. He said, motivation doesn't last. That's why, no, he said, I want to get it right. He said, showering doesn't last, right? That's why we have to do it daily. It's the same with motivation, right? It's the same with inspiring yourself. You can't just be like, I'm having a bad day. If someone says I'm having a bad day, I'm like, when was the last time you did something that was for your mindset?
Right.
Like your mind has to be controlled. And the beautiful thing is like, your thoughts, what you choose to consume, how you choose to fill your mind is completely up to you. Nobody can change that. And so when you learn to master your mind, you do have some rituals. I don't have any crazy rituals. Right now, I just listen to Abraham Hicks for like 10 or 15 minutes every morning.
Okay, that's great. But it's like something like the vibe is good. It's inspiring. It just kind of gets you going.
Yes, absolutely. And some people don't have anything like, day to day. And in fact, speaking of Sarah Blakely, she would listen to Wayne Dyer every day when she was driving to school, when she was a teenager. So like, what a great way to feel to feel your energy.
Right. I know for me, if I start my day with emails, Facebook, the TV, forget it. I might as well just go back to bed and like call it done. Cause the day is not going to be going very well.
Yeah. It's like game over. Yeah.
Game totally over. And you don't want to start your day in like this reactive place. Like that's just not where you want to be or where you want to be in. And even just like I think like the first 10 or 20 minutes of your day completely set the tone for the rest of your entire like 24-hour experience.
Yes.
And that's really special.
Yes.
And I think it's important too, for me anyway, one of the pieces that I connect to is just remembering why the heck I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's so easy to get sucked into all those little things and all the task related stuff. And it's like taking a moment to step back and say like, oh, I'm a human being. Like this is amazing experience. And this is actually what I'm here for. Oh, and I happen to do all these other things along with that. It's just a very, it just changes the whole level of perception in my mind.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so true. And this is why I love this sounds morbid, but it's not. I find it very life affirming. I always like to think about death and contemplate my own death. And I like to always think about regret, right? Like, will I be regretting this or will I be happy I did this, know? And so we're all going to be dead soon, right? Like
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. There's an old joke or expression that, death has a 100% success rate. So it's coming for you. It's coming for you. So it's like, what if our lives were forever, if they were perpetual, they wouldn't mean anything, right? So we have to remember like how meaningful they are, and every day just connect to who we are and our reason for being here.
And it really is a choice, don't you think, that in any given moment, is this giving me life or is this just marching me towards my death? It really though. I mean, I really appreciate that because it kind of puts that, it really makes the decisions that you make, it really puts them at the forefront of like, wow, you never know when you're making that one decision that can really change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I mean, even when it comes to small things, like, you know what it's like when you're busy and you haven't necessarily got time for every single person, even though you'd love to see people.
Mm-hmm.
One time recently, I saw somebody, I wrote about this. I saw somebody recently because, she kind of kept asking and she said, let's do tacos. And I love tacos. And then, and look, she's a great girl. And, we were having some margaritas and some tacos. But I knew it wasn't something that was going to like really serve my soul. You know what I mean? I kind of felt like a bit bad. And like 17 minutes into our get together, it was 6:17. I remember because I looked at my clock. I was like, I don't know how to fill an hour with this woman. I think she's lovely. Like this is, a cool, nice, fun thing to do, but I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like there are other things that I can be doing. Like, is this a good use of my time?
And that's relevant. You again in the book talk about choice. And, like every moment of every day, we're choosing, is this in my highest and best or is this in my highest and best? And whether it's the people we're around, I remember I cringed a bit in something where you wrote, we can, how much time do we spend on Facebook or social media on average? And you're like, you could be taking that and putting it into your side hustle. Right.
Yes. Yeah. I know. And look, I watched the whole Crown in like 2 days. Like, and that, look, binging, enjoying yourself, doing these time-wasting things. There's an old expression.
The Crown was great.
The Crown is great. But there's this old expression that time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted time, right?
Yes,
so for me, it's like that's a pleasure, and I even batch that and enjoy that. But a lot of the time, I'm not pleasing people like I used to.
Yeah.
Like, and of course, I want to be liked and accepted, and I don't want to be rude, but I'm much more intentional about what's going to work for me. And I see people, I see successful people do this all the time. They have a great system of, how they make decisions and what they do and what they don't do. And I've made a choice to be a lot more like that too. And it has made a big difference in just how I feel every day.
Well, I want to circle back to that actually for just a second and sharing your dream, with somebody that's close to you, sometimes family, like sometimes they can be the worst people to share that with and they can be the biggest time sucks as well. So, how do you help people through that part of the process of, who they share those ideas with? And if you've got people in your, your close friends or family that are really draining your energy and you're just sitting there thinking, yep, this is definitely not helping me get where I want to go. How do you help them draw that boundary?
That's a really good question, especially like this time of year when people are always around their families. If someone has an idea for a side hustle, and by the way, if you have an idea and you feel like enthusiasm about it, it's probably a very good idea. You don't want to share that with someone who's not going to be like all about it. Sometimes in life it's much better to be quiet, to not really expose everything. And I've had to learn this because I'm so enthusiastic and I share with everyone. And increasingly I've learned that it can be better to just limit what you share, limit like what it is that you kind of make yourself vulnerable, and open up to people who are only going to support it. And if they have an opinion, it's a loving opinion, like a loving, informed, opinion versus like, oh, well, that's stupid. I mean, if you speak to a lot of people, some people still think it's really weird that I left my job, they think it's so weird. Right. And people told me at the time, my other corporate friends, like, why would you leave it? It's so great, and so, but I was asking the wrong people. Like that was my fault. Yes. Right. That was my fault. And I took responsibility, for that. But I have to say too, life does change. And one great thing is, we really do get to choose who we spend time with, who we share with, who we let into our, almost like, our own inner circle each time, who we let our share our secrets with and, share our dreams with. That's a very sacred, that should be earned by somebody, that's a sacred thing.
Yes, I so agree. I share that with some students in a couple of my courses. It's like when something good is happening, I want you to celebrate, but avoid talking about it to too many people because sadly, sometimes the human nature is to come in and squash a dream. Whatever that reason is they're jealous or they're worried, sometimes family members will be worried you're not going to succeed. And I think there is so much value in that, keeping it close, having your few trusted people And in the same, when something isn't going exactly like you want, if you start talking a lot about that, people love, misery. Like they'll just come in.
Yes.
So yeah,
And
it's interesting.
and often if someone is like kind of, like shaming your idea or has an opinion about like your idea, it's their reflection on them, right? It's like, oh, I never could realize a dream, so your dream's not going to happen. I don't want that to be realized. And some things are so special too. If you feel something like, internally, you can just, your intuition is so strong. It's better to keep it quiet. In a way, I think, like if a woman is pregnant, she doesn't tell people until like a certain point, like after a certain time. It's like, because it's too it's too delicate, right? And it's too special and important to be sharing, right? So like you can do that with your ideas. Like you can do that, you can protect them and guard them and like nurture them. And then like when they, take their own life, then that's awesome, right? Because people will see. But when something's like very, very precious, you can hold that close to you. And there's something wonderful in that too.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's what I was just thinking that same thing. It was like, it's like a little baby, And
Yeah.
you wouldn't just throw it out there to the world like, hey, good luck, It'll get torn apart. And that's sad. I think so many great ideas and so many great people never really get out of the starting gate because it just gets torn down before they even get there. And that's just sad to me. Yeah. It's really sad.
Yeah, and this is kind of, different to speak about something like kind of tangentially here, but like even sometimes when I see men and women in a new relationship, for example, they've had 2 or 3 dates and they want to break down and dissect the dates or whatever with everyone who listen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, don't, like just, how about you just explore that, right?
Yeah.
Like you just let it be, keep it to yourself, enjoy it. And then once it comes to a point of, something being established, then you can be exciting and you're happy to share that. But not everything needs to be shared immediately, and some things are really just for you in the early stages.
Yeah. And I think you're touching on something that really speaks to even deeper level of really being able to sit and be with yourself, to tune in with your own intuition, your own intuitive hits, and your own innate knowledge to decide for yourself. And I don't know, that was my biggest takeaway from reading the book too, is like take control of your life.
Yes.
It's so powerful. I wanted to bring up that topic because it seems like a different day and age. Like when I look at my parents' generation, maybe even 30 years ago, where people would stay with a corporation for 30, 40 years. And that was it. And my dad sold insurance for I think almost 40 years with State Farm. And that was his life. Like that was his career. And so many people did that. And it seems to be a very different climate these days. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the importance of having your own thing or being like fully responsible for your own income and how that works in your life with a side hustle.
So that's such a good point, Nick, because those days are over. I mean, this job for life, retirement, gold watch, blah, blah, blah. Like that just doesn't exist anymore. It was wonderful, while it lasted for people who benefited from that and who were served by that. But I mean, look at graduates. They can't get jobs, right? And very qualified, experienced, brilliant people are out of work, looking for work. And in 1990, like 90% of Americans had a paycheck and a boss. And now it's like less than 2/3, right? So it's less than 60%. So even if you think about like just the freelance economy, a lot of it isn't even because someone intends to start, running a business. It's because they've had to, right? So the best thing you can do is to be on the proactive end of that, right? Versus the, oh my gosh, I've lost my job and I'm not sure if I'm hireable. I've been in one place, or, whatever it may be. And it's never been easier or better to do this. Like it has never been easier or better to do this. You can slip straight into a side hustle with a framework, right? By signing up for many kind of different awesome businesses, or you can create something on your own and invest nothing or very, very little into it. And you can, and the irony is once you start your side hustle, so many great things start to happen. Of course, you make more money. You start to feel kind of creatively fulfilled. A woman said to me, I feel like I've got my life back. Because she felt like she had some power. And ironically, I also hear a lot that some people get pay raises, right? They get offers for new jobs because they're not coming from a place of neediness anymore.
Yeah, their wealth containers expanding, like they're in potential. I love that. What do you feel this is doing to the economy overall, at least in this country or worldwide? More and more people having their own business, the millennial group just going out there and creating just cool things all over the place. But where do you see this going?
I mean, isn't it so wonderful? For any business to succeed, it has to solve a problem, right? It has
Yes.
to add value.
Mm-hmm.
So if more people are adding value, there is only good that comes from
Right.
that, right?
Right.
There is only good things from people doing work with intention that solves problems and adds value. And you can solve you can solve a problem as a dog trainer, as a matchmaker, as a party planner. I mean, it's unlimited what you can do. But if you're in a place of giving and, making other people's lives easier with a product or service, like what could be wrong with that?
Yeah.
Like nothing,
Yeah.
right?
I love it.
That it's only good. There's so much potential. Like it makes me so excited even just thinking about
could
the
tell.
potential.
I think
that we all
everyone
have,
with a
that we
side
all
hustle,
have,
yes.
to add to giving.
I love it. We everyone with a side hustle needs to be focused on you.
Yes, absolutely. And so, I mean, so somebody said to me, well, not everybody needs a side hustle. And I posted this story. I think it was the prince of, please forgive me, it was like Norway or Denmark. I can't remember. It was a European prince who's been side hustling as an airline pilot
What?
for over 20 years. And I was like, that's what I say to people who say not everyone needs a side hustle. And clearly he didn't do it for the money. In fact, he only got discovered because people could recognize his voice when he made announcements on the phone. But this member of royalty, this monarch, has been side hustling as a pilot.
That's the best.
Isn't that incredible? It's like this really can be for anyone.
Now, I'm curious. This is, I think, kind of related to that in the sense that I've heard it said that it really does not serve you to just build a career anymore. It's really necessary for people to be building a personal brand around that as well. I'm not saying with the website and everything like that, but for people to know you as the individual, not you as, this part of that corporation. I'm wondering what your thoughts are around that. Does that relate to is a side hustle necessary to that, or is that something that you can do within a corporation?
Yeah, a side hustle is so complementary to that because, do you know anyone who really thinks that they're their job or feels like just their job is a fair, is who they are? I feel like, okay, so, my job is I'm a nurse, right? Mm-hmm. Someone might be a nurse and love that, but they're also more than a nurse, right? We're all human beings. We all have so many gifts and talents that are untapped. There's a survey that said that 87% of Americans are unengaged at work, right? Meaning 13,
that is a staggering number.
Yeah. So only 1.3, right? So 1 in 10, say.
Wow.
Of people are engaged at work. That is the most depressing statistic I've ever seen, right? So what we show up, go through the motions, autopilot, get the check, can't wait till Friday, live for the weekend. That is no way to live. And even when I was working, look, my job was, it was great. Like I said, I was very, grateful for it. But if someone's like, what do you do? I'm like, I sell ad tech. I wasn't in alignment with that. Like that was, it was kind of course, my answer because it was the truth, but it was so out of alignment. I remember Oprah was speaking about this too when she was a news reporter. She was like, I just had to read from a teleprompter in a very still voice and it was very consistent. And she was like, it was just so out of alignment with who she was. And look, being a news reporter on television is an excellent career, right? Yes. Many people really aspire to that for many years. And she was like, not in alignment. So when you think about side hustling, you allow a certain part of yourself to be. You let a different part of yourself to come to life, right? That might be dormant.
Right.
So why wouldn't you do that? Because you're so much more one thing.
Right. Well, what about you? Was there a pivotal moment when you're like done completely with corporate? I'm going full on to my side hustle for my life. Like what was going on in your head at that point?
This is such a good question because I'm asked all the time, like, when should I quit my job? Like, do I give a deadline? Do I do this, do that? And it's different for everyone, right? So I never give an answer really specifically. But the way that the incredible universe works is the universe does for you what you won't do for yourself, right? So often if you really hate a job, you'll get fired. Right?
You'll manifest it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or just say you really, really hate something about your life. You hate the city you live in. The universe will give you an opportunity to move somewhere else, right? What happened with me, and I think this is what happens with a lot of people, is my side hustle was, picking up steam so nicely that I had to choose between interviewing somebody and doing something cool or going to my mandatory all hands sales meeting. Right. Oh God. And I would just juggle that until I missed out on an interview and an opportunity to interview Lena Dunham when her book came out, a book I loved. I love her. I mean, it was like the universe kind of made it impossible for me to keep working. In the same way, because other things just started happening. And so because I did have a deadline in mind, but it just happened sooner. It just happened sooner. Because also my risk tolerance is a little higher, I think, too, just because I have faith. I love what Deepak Chopra says. He says that inherent in every desire is the mechanics of its fulfillment, meaning the universe wouldn't give you a dream or a vision or an ambition or something to do and not allow that to be fulfilled for you.
That's the best. That's the best. Yeah.
So if you can allow it, if you can have a little faith, I mean, not blind faith, side hustling is very practical, right? But if you can also allow and you can see what's possible, then, I mean, the way that I thought about it at the time is like the worst thing that can happen to me, the very worst thing that can happen to me is that I will, work for myself, not like it, and end up exactly where I am now in a different company. I'm already living my worst case scenario. And you can always get another job. There is always another job. There is always more money. There is always another kind of, place to fit, insert yourself. Yes. So I think that there's a lot less risk in risk than maybe we think.
I would agree with you. I hear many times that people have a tough time wrapping their heads around that well, you just go get another job. It seems that we're often kind of traumatized by what I don't want to go off on a big conspiracy theory, but what the media would have to say about that of like, oh, the job rate, and the unemployment rate, and it's hard to get it, and this is hard, and that's hard. And I feel like a lot of people do buy into that. Word. Right. Well, I'm just is it making you heavy? It's freaking kids out. I'm not allowed to use that word anymore for the rest of the episode. But it seems like that becomes part of people's belief system in a certain way. And then when it comes time to think about like, oh, like I could just get another job, they're like, oh, I don't know about that. So I'm wondering if you can maybe speak to that a little bit more directly.
Yeah, no, I like that because it is definitely a fear. And one thing I know for sure is that most people will choose misery over uncertainty. They will choose misery. They'll choose like what they know. They'll choose routine because it feels safe, and there's nothing safe about it. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come to me saying I was let go unceremoniously, like after 25 years, after 30 years, like with my box on the street, 2 weeks severance.
Oh,
right. I mean, I actually had Mika Brzezinski, is that her last name?
Yes.
Is that how you say it? I heard her, she spoke on Ariana Huffington's stage, and she said that she was completely unceremoniously fired. One morning she went into work, and that like she was in the makeup chair, and they were like, oh, the boss wants to see you. And she went there, and he was like, yeah, you're out. You're out. I can't remember what network it was. And she was like, oh my God. She was like, she's like, I gave up time with my kids. I gave up everything. I didn't vacation. Like I put everything into this job. And she was like, never again. Like never again will I give everything to this job. And that can just happen. I mean, it kind of makes me like, well, I don't like it when people say, work is a family, it's like a family here. That word is used a lot. And I think, the intention is very nice, but it's not a family. It's it's a business exchange. That's why I talk about a salary increase as a sales transaction, because that's what it is. And the second an employer doesn't want you anymore, you'll be gone. Right. You will be gone. Let's not sugarcoat that. It's true. You stop performing. They don't need you. The budgets have to be cut. You'll be out. Out skis. So you have to also remember to take care of yourself and put yourself first, your needs and priorities, because that's what everybody else is doing. And it's absolutely okay to put yourself as number one. And when you do that, again, ironically, you become a much better version of yourself because you're not living in fear. And when it comes to, another job, hey, look, there's no guaranteed job lined up for you in 6 months' time, if you know, but in your life, haven't things kind of worked out for you so far? If you look at your life now when there's been question marks, or, hey, will I get a job when I graduate? Will I get a job in a new city? Will my job be there for me after maternity leave? Whatever it's been. Haven't you survived so far? Hasn't it been okay so far? And can't that give you also a little bit of confidence? You've survived whatever's happened to you. And so why would that change now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think people tend to negate what they actually have created that's miraculous, and not pull confidence from that. So that's such a great reminder. I love that.
Yes. And I think too, and I don't want to make light of anything, but we can also live with I think we can hold life a bit more lightly. We don't have to take everything so seriously.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like mistakes, losses, change, they're normal. They'll like the only guaranteed thing in life is change, right? Like the only consistent thing about change is that it's like consistent. Right? So like I think we could also like if we could look at it through a bit of a different lens, like a more, this is interesting. This isn't like, a life and death thing, when something bad happens. If we can add like a lighter perspective to things too, then that makes everything easier.
It totally does. And speaking of perspective, you are one busy woman. I mean, I'd love to know how many blogs you're writing, publishing a week or a month. And I see you speaking, you're everywhere. Do you kind of structure your weeks accordingly? Like Wednesday is speaking day, Friday's networking day, or do you just go and grab the opportunities that come to you that you feel are relevant?
That's such a great question. And I'd love to say that I'm really structured. I mean, I'm sure other people are, or maybe they're not. I don't know. I mean, the way that I think about it is, I love what Stephen Covey said, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, don't prioritize your schedule your priorities, right? So my priorities are, of course, writing, creating my programs, delivering my programs, being there for my clients. But you have to leave some room for spontaneity.
Right.
You have to leave some room. Like today, my husband and I decided to do some Christmas shopping, and we had some champagne on Fifth Avenue. I mean, what could be better than that?
That's so great.
Yes. That wasn't expected. That was just totally wonderful. And I think that the most important thing to know is like, what's your intention? Like, what do you want to do? Like have clear in your mind, like what success in your life and business is, which is, often like a larger vision. And then when it comes to making decisions and planning your week, saying, is this in line with like the 3 things I want to do? It's like growing my email list, growing my network, publishing a book. Like if I'm writing, if I'm growing my network, if I'm, growing my email list, then pretty much so much falls into that. And so if it kind of ticks those boxes, then it's okay with me.
I love that. Speaking of your husband, tell us a bit. I've seen you mention Heath in a few photos. What does he do? Does he have a permanent hustle, a side hustle? Like, love to know more.
Oh, this is juicy. So he worked in fintech. So he worked in finance and in fintech. And now since July, he works with me.
Oh, wow.
He's so lucky.
That is great. Yes, he's lucky.
I tell him how lucky he is every day. He's always rolling his eyes. But no, he started. But that's another thing, right? Like that's a big bet, going all in, right? Having a stable job, blah, 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 benefits, et cetera, et cetera. The way that we discussed it was I needed to hire somebody. He wasn't crazy about his job. So he said, how about I, give it a whirl? And if I don't like it, I'll find another job.
He must have read your book.
Good job, Heath. If you're listening, you get 5 stars.
I know, but it's wonderful too, because we get to spend, our days together, and how you spend your days is how you spend your life, and we spend our life together. It's nice.
That's great.
There's some ins and outs to that. It's not always as, like it's a beautiful thing. Like as Kisma and I, we're partners. We work together in a lot of different ways, and it's a little bit of a different dance than it is of just each doing solely their own thing. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about some of that transition? Has it been like all smooth and roses, or have there been a few little things?
No way.
Well, you're so positive. I thought that was a possibility.
Well, the thing is, like, I think the thing that we do well is we laugh a lot. In fact, when I was a waitress as a teenager, I worked for this guy, and he had this amazing policy that whenever we broke a plate, messed up, we laughed.
That's
right?
great.
Like we're like. It's like whenever something goes, like you're holding like a quiche and salad and everything's busy and you drop it and orange juice, you laugh, right? Like you laugh. So we laugh, right? And that kind of, that makes everything easier. But, I would say we're still getting in our stride together. It's been a few months. I do everything content related. He does everything operational, which he likes. Sometimes we disagree. So we kind of explain, our points of view. But I see a lot of couples actually working together, more and more, more now than ever. I've even met coaches specifically who only work with entrepreneurial couples. And I think it's a wonderful thing to do if you can do it. It's not for everyone. And I mean, you should ask me again in a few months. I don't know. I mean, we respect each other. We kind of know what our roles are. And just this word fun, right? I want to be having fun. And so if we can do that, and if we can spend time together and have fun, then it's nice to work with someone who cares about your business as much as you do.
Yeah. And New York is so fun. I mean, what a great city, right?
Oh my gosh, it's the best. So even though it's cold, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
I grew up in Michigan, so I'm super happy in Southern California. I was bundled up today. I had a sweater and a scarf on.
It was 50.
Oh my gosh, 50.
Well, I have another question for you, but first I want to let our listeners know, where can they reach you? We'll definitely, everyone will have a link to the book, What If It Does Work Out, which is how a side hustle can change your life. And truly, this is such a great book. So please grab it. But anything else that's going on? I know I'm in one of your courses right now, Susie, and I'm loving it. But how else can our listeners get a hold of you?
So probably the best thing to do is to sign up for my free weekly confidence injection on my website, which is susie-more.com. And if you're interested in checking out, starting a side hustle, you can check out my program, which is at sidehustleMadeSimple.com.
Oh, great. And we'll have those links for you in the show notes. That's awesome. What about where they can pick up your blogs? What are some of the most recent publications?
Oh, gosh, everywhere.
I know, you're everywhere.
Well, I think this is one of the great things that I always love to talk about, because guest posting, blogging, it's still very, very uncommon in terms of very few people are doing it. So it's a wonderful time to kind of enter the kind of guest posting, guest blogging space. So, I write a lot for Business Insider. Right now I'm working on a piece for Money. I write for, Greatest. I have a column there every Tuesday. I'm doing another piece for Well and Good. I mean, I like to write everywhere. And I think that, writing specifically, people do ask me about that a lot, which is why I created my program, Kismet, that you were in 5 Minutes to Famous. It's a wonderful way to make an impact. This is kind of like almost like having a book, right? Yeah. It's like, of course you have products and services to sell, but we're all in business to make an impact, right? That's why we started. And so putting out what it is, your advice, your content, your thoughts out there, I think that that's a wonderful way to reach a lot of people. Yes, so if you Google me, you'll see me everywhere. I'm like a little hoe online.
You are. You're everywhere. I think there's actually 10 of you, and you're just not telling us.
Well, there are also, ways to make it easier, that. That's why, when you write, you can repurpose. There's so much magic in it. And really it's available to anyone. It's a free market, right? It's a free press. So it's a time to take advantage.
Oh, that's so great. And, one question I love to ask guests is there anything that you really want to do in your life that you've yet to tell anybody?
I would like to, as a regular woman with a lot of heart, walk down a catwalk.
Oh, damn. That's a great one. Oh, you heard it here first, everybody.
Victoria's Secret, call me.
Yeah.
Add my number.
We're going to start tweeting.
Careful what you wish for.
You know what? Because we all want to see regular women, right? With heart. That's it. That's enough. That's beautiful.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so be it. It's done.
It's done. I'm lost.
Oh, that's beautiful, Susie. Thank you so much. Hey, before we sign off, any last words of wisdom for our listeners? Maybe it's about de-stressing, or, I love what you talked about, joyfulness and laughter in life, but anything else you can think of that you'd want to share?
Actually, because this did come up today, because I purchased something for my husband. I got him a new wallet while we were shopping today. And the man said to me as I was buying, he said, "Thank you for making this fun." Right? Because I don't know, we just had a fun time. And I said, you know what, if we're not having fun, right, constantly, not on birthdays, right, or, Saturday nights, I'm like, but if we're not having fun, we're missing the point as to why we're here, right? So every single thing can be fun. Making tea, doing dishes, everything can be fun if you just bring some, if you allow yourself to be present in your body and allow yourself to be light.
Yeah, that is great. I love that.
That's beautiful.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Were you always fun, since the time you were a little girl?
Oh, I like to laugh, like, don't we all? Like, I think we're all fun. We just don't allow ourselves to be
Yes,
some.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to take that with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be laughing a lot.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kisma.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. The very fabulous Susie Moore. You'll find her everywhere. And please check out our show notes for the book and her courses and how to get in touch with her. And Susie, before, I know you're flying off to enjoy the holidays. We super appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yay. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Okay.
Happy
Thanks
holidays.
so much.
Peace.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.